and Florida Representative Greg Steube. Congressman, good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks for having me.
I know you're not on that committee anymore, but, I mean, you know the stunt. Hunter Biden comes, in, he sits down, he makes a big scene, he leaves. Now, if I was his attorney, I never would have let that happen, but he is rubbing America's nose in it. Look, I'm untouchable. I'm Hunter Biden. My daddy's president. You can't do a thing to me. That's my takeaway. I think it looks absolutely awful. I think it's a terrible move legally and for public relations matters. How do you see it?
Yeah, he's the clown of the Democratic circus, and they paraded him in for his little time and his little show, and then off he goes. I'm with you. As being a lawyer who's prosecuted cases, I don't understand the showboating. I don't understand the in-your-face showing the Republicans that, hey, here I am, but I'm not willing to come and sit down at your deposition. And there's a game here that's being played by the Democrats because they want mainstream media to perpetrate this fraud that, oh, he's willing to come and speak in the hearing before the American people. But that's in those hearings, each member only gets 5 minutes. Staff doesn't get to ask a series and a litany of questions. It's not a deposition, it's a public hearing. And so they don't want him to have to go to a deposition where he may sit for 8 or 10 hours, and you can walk through certain scenarios like, hey, you and Tony Bobulinski did business together, and spend an hour on that, and spend an hour on Ukraine, and spend an hour on all these different issues, and really get into serious questions using documents to preface some of those questions, creating an evidentiary record. They don't want that, but they want to make it look like to the American people, oh, we're not adverse to testifying, because he knows how to play that game. They'll come into the hearing, they'll slow walk all of their responses, they'll make it all political, and he won't have to answer tough questions over a period of time over the real crux of all these Biden investigations that are pending before we get into the impeachment stuff.
Well, and that's exactly what you just laid out is incredibly important for more Americans to understand, which is there is a process here. And by the way, it's the same process that everybody goes through, that Donald Trump Jr. went through, that Eric Trump went through, and that is you go behind closed doors for a deposition under oath, where you can have a series of questions. It's not 5 minutes. Right, he came in more than once. That's exactly right. So there's a process here. And this idea that, well, he'll show up for a public hearing, that's nothing more than filibustering and political speeches and no real questions. The Democrats get to lather him in praise and all of this nonsense and paint him as the victim, which he, of course, is not. Interesting to note, Congressman, he did show up at the hearing yesterday with a camera crew in tow because they're making a movie about Hunter and what a poor victim he is. It's all galling to me.
Yeah, he's probably getting paid from Democratic donors to make that movie, to add it to all the other things, the nefarious stuff he's done and got paid for.
Well, if I could do finger painting for $500,000 a shot, I'd do it too. It's good work if you can get it, isn't it?
Yeah, if people are willing to pay that, why not?
Right. So those are some of the questions. I mean, we know, as members like James Comer and others have pointed out, they have bank records. They have emails. They have conversations. They have witnesses. And you talked about him, Tony Bobulinski, among others. There is a pattern of behavior here, and it looks to me like it goes back to the Oval Office and Joe Biden, maybe prior to him being there, but he has been involved with these business relationships, whether it's China, Russia, Romania, Ukraine. He's been involved, hasn't he?
Yeah, this argument from the Democrats that, one, nothing has happened here, there's nothing wrong here, and Joe Biden hasn't been involved are complete and outright lies. We have shown through the investigations and oversight, the Ways and Means Committee, which I sit on, and all these other investigations. Now we've found actual evidence, financial evidence, that Joe Biden himself has received money from his brother and from Hunter. These business dealings were 100% selling the brand of Joe Biden and then getting Joe Biden to do things on the official side for their clients. For example, Ukraine. They fire. I mean, Biden himself brags about firing the prosecutor by withholding American money to the Ukraine, and they got that person fired. And we have email traffic of all the people that were involved in that. There's a treasure trove of evidence to support that Joe Biden was using his position and enriching his family by using his position, and he absolutely should be impeached. I filed an impeachment resolution mid last year, but the House wants to do its due diligence, do the investigation, put that before the American people, and move forward. And I think we absolutely owe it to the American people to do that.
I don't disagree with you on that. Let me ask you this about Hunter Biden before we leave this. It is Daddy's DOJ. It is Merrick Garland, who is thankfully not on the U.S. Supreme Court. I'll say that as an aside. Thankfully, we dodged that bullet. But is there any chance, do you believe, that Hunter Biden will ever face any charges like Steve Bannon did or Peter Navarro did or other people did that were involved with Donald Trump's administration? What do you think is going to happen? Anything at all?
Yeah, I don't think any charges will be proffered. You'll see the House vote to hold him in contempt. But mind you, Steve Bannon's been sentenced to 4 months in prison for refusing a subpoena, a congressional subpoena, and not showing up. So there is a precedent that this DOJ has set. So it'll be very clear to the American people if there's one standard for Trump individuals and a different standard for Joe Biden's son. And I think you're absolutely going to see that take place. We have seen the complete politicization and the weaponization of the DOJ and the FBI from before when Joe Biden took office, but certainly now.
Yeah. I will say this. There will be a political price to pay for this, though, because ordinary Americans, people that voted for Joe Biden, are looking at this going, this is not right. They know it. And so do we, Congressman. Thank you for being here.
Anytime.